Sony is wrong about shutting down Destiny. Destiny is not dead, and honestly that might be the most important thing Sony needs to understand right now, because if the reports are true and Sony is really looking at Bungie and thinking, yeah, Destiny 2 is done and Marathon is the future, and we're going to axe half the studio to achieve that, I think that is one of the worst financial decisions they could possibly make. Not just emotionally, and not just because I like Destiny, and not just because I have nostalgia for the franchise. I mean, from a business perspective, from a brand perspective, from a you literally spent $3.6 billion on this studio perspective, Sony walking away from Destiny right now feels like lighting the value of their asset on fire. And the crazy thing is, Destiny just proved it still has a pulse. Actually, not even just a pulse. It proved that when Bungie gives players reasons to come back, people come back in droves. Destiny 2 recently hit one of its biggest player spikes in years. This game is a game that people were calling dead, a game that people said everyone had moved on from, a game that had been bleeding players, bleeding trust, and bleeding momentum for years, and then Bungie drops one meaningful update, one update that actually feels like it respects the player base, and suddenly everyone is back. That should send a clear message to Sony and Bungie. The problem was never that people stopped caring about Destiny. The problem was that Destiny stopped giving players and people enough reasons to care, and that is a very different problem, because if no one cared, fine. Move on, shut it down, put the franchise in a grave, put it on a shelf, and let Bungie do something else. But if hundreds of thousands of people show up the second there is real momentum around Destiny again, then maybe the issue is not the IP, maybe the issue is how the IP has been handled. Destiny is one of those rare modern gaming franchises that actually broke through, and I do not think people give that enough credit anymore. When Destiny 1 launched, it was not just another shooter, it was an event. It was Bungie, the studio that helped define the console shooter with Halo, trying to build the next evolution of the idea, a shared world shooter, a game where you logged in, met up with friends, ran strikes, did raids, chased loot, and lived in this weird sci-fi fantasy universe that felt bigger than anything Bungie had ever made before. Was Destiny 1 perfect launch? Absolutely not. The story was a mess, the content was thin, the famous "I don't have to explain why I don't have time to explain" line was basically a meme for everything wrong with the campaign.
I don't even have time to explain why I don't have time to explain.
But the foundation was undeniable. The gunplay was incredible. The art direction was incredible. The music was incredible. The raids were unlike anything most console players had experienced before. Vault of Glass was a moment. Crota's End was a moment. The Taken King was a moment. Destiny 1 had that thing that every live service is desperately trying to manufacture now. It had community mythology. People were not just playing the game, they were telling stories about the game. They were talking about their first Galahorn drop. They were talking about staying up all night to beat Oryx. They were talking about Xur. They were talking about Trials. They were talking about that loot cave that gave them amazing loot drops. Destiny was not just a product. It became part of gaming culture. Then Destiny 2 launched, and again, messy start. A lot of people forget this now, but Destiny 2 had a very rough identity crisis at launch. It tried to simplify too much, it tried to appeal to everyone, and in doing that, it lost some of the depth that made Destiny 1 special. But then, Bungie did what Bungie always did best. They rebuilt. Forsaken came out, and suddenly, Destiny 2 felt alive again. The Dreaming City, Last Wish, The Cursed Cycle, Gambit, new powers, actual stakes, Cade's demise. Forsaken was not just an expansion. It was Destiny 2 saying, okay, we get it now. And from there, Destiny 2 had years of moments. The Witch Queen was one of the best campaigns Bungie had ever made. Lightfall, whether you like it or not, hit the game's all-time Steam peak. The Final Shape brought the 10-year saga to a close and gave players the emotional payoff they had been waiting for. This franchise had lows, absolutely, really low lows. But the highs of Destiny are highs most live service games never even get close to. And that is why I don't understand Sony's thinking here. This is not a Marathon sucks video. From what I have seen and from what I have played, Marathon has real strengths. It has Bungie's gunplay, it has its style, it has a cool world, it has atmosphere. There is definitely a good game there. But Marathon is niche. It is an extraction shooter. That genre is naturally more punishing, more stressful, more specific, and harder to sell to a mainstream audience. You drop in, you loot, you fight, you risk everything, and if you die, you lose progress. That is exciting to a certain type of player, and I enjoy it a lot. But it is also exactly the kind of thing that makes a lot of players say, no thanks, I'm good. That does not mean Marathon cannot be successful. It can be. But can Marathon become Destiny? Can Marathon become a decade-long franchise with the same emotional attachment, the same community history, the same mainstream pull, the same peaks, the same iconic moments, the same everyone is logging on tonight energy? I highly, highly doubt it. And that is not an insult. Most games cannot become Destiny. That is the point. Sony already owns the rare thing every publisher wants: a sci-fi shooter universe with a loyal fan base, an iconic developer, elite gameplay, years of lore, recognizable classes, memorable raids, and a community that still very clearly wants a reason to believe and log back in. And instead of investing in that, they are seemingly letting it fade away. That is insane to me, because the recent Destiny spike should not be seen as a goodbye. It should be seen as market research. It should be seen as proof of demand. Players literally showed up to say, we are still here, and the response from Sony has been silent. Sony should not be sitting on their hands when they see this. Their response should be, okay, how can we turn this into the next chapter? Because there are only really two paths that make sense from here. Option 1, continue Destiny 2, not necessarily at the same scale, not necessarily with massive yearly expansions forever. I understand that this model is expensive, I understand that Destiny 2 is old, and I understand that the engine, the content pipeline, and the technical depth are probably nightmares at this point, but there is a middle ground here between massive expansion every year and final update, goodbye, good luck everyone. Give Destiny 2 a sustainable team. Give it seasons that are smaller but meaningful. Give it raid support. Give it community events. Give it sandbox updates. Give it quality of life improvements. Give players a reason to log in every few months and feel like the universe still exists. Destiny does not need to be the only thing Bungie makes, but Destiny should still be one of the main things Bungie makes because of how powerful that IP is. Option 2. Greenlight Destiny 3. And honestly, this is the option I think Sony should seriously be considering, because Destiny 2 has baggage, a lot of baggage. New players look at Destiny 2 and see a mountain of expansions, vaulted content, confusing systems, old storylines, years of currencies, years of mechanics, and a community that needs a PhD to explain what the hell is going on. Destiny 3 could be the reset. Not a reboot of the universe, a reset of the entry point, a clear foundation, a new generation of Guardians, a fresh campaign, a better onboarding experience, and a more sustainable content model. A game built for the next decade instead of a game dragging the weight of the last decade behind it. And I know people will say, well, Destiny 3 would be expensive. Yeah, obviously. But Sony spent $3.6 billion buying Bungie. What was that money for? If the answer was buy Bungie and Destiny 2, hope Marathon becomes the next giant thing, and then lay off a massive portion of the studio if it doesn't, I genuinely do not understand the strategy. You do not have to buy one of the best live service studios in the world and let its biggest live service franchise die. That is like buying a restaurant because everyone loves its signature dish, then firing half the chefs and telling everyone the restaurant is now fully committed to a new experimental tasting menu. Maybe the tasting menu is good, but people came for the thing you were already great at. This is where the layoff conversation really bothers me, because if Bungie gets gutted, the people who suffer are not the executives who made the calls. It is the artists, the designers, the engineers, the community people, the raid team, the sandbox team, the people who actually made the magic, the people who built worlds, the weapons, the music, the armor, the encounters, the lore, the feel. You do not fix Bungie by removing the people who know how to make Bungie games. You fix Bungie by giving the studio a clear direction. And right now, the clearest direction is staring Sony in the face. Destiny is still valuable. Destiny still has players willing to show up. The brand is bruised but not broken, and that matters because live service games are almost impossible to build from scratch. Every publisher wants one, and most fail. Sony knows this better than anyone. They had big live service ambitions, and a lot of those projects struggled, got cancelled, or never became what they were supposed to be. Concord. Meanwhile, Destiny is sitting right there, the thing they already own, the thing that already works when it is supported correctly, the thing that already has a community, the thing that already has 10 years of emotional investment. This is not the moment to walk away. This is the moment to recommit. And honestly, I think Destiny fans would forgive a lot if Sony and Bungie came out and said, "We hear you. Destiny 2 is entering maintenance, but Destiny is not over. We are building the next major Destiny project. It will take time, but this universe has a future." That one statement would change everything. Because fans do not need Destiny 3 tomorrow. They need to know Destiny has a future. They need to know Bungie is not being hollowed out. They need to know that the last 10 years were not just a long road to a maintenance mode screen and a round of layoffs. Because Destiny deserves better than that. Bungie deserves better than that. And honestly, Sony's investment deserves better than that as well. Again, this is not me saying Marathon should fail. I hope Marathon succeeds. I hope Bungie has multiple strong franchises. I hope Marathon finds its audience and becomes a healthy game. But Marathon should not come at the expense of Destiny. That is the mistake. Sony does not need to choose between them in a way that destroys the one franchise that made Bungie worth saving in the first place. Let Marathon be Marathon. Let it serve that niche. Let it grow slowly. Let it be the stylish extraction shooter for the people who want that kind of experience. But Destiny? Destiny should be the flagship. Destiny should be the universe Sony builds around. Destiny should be the franchise that gets the big investment, the long-term plan, and the next chapter. Because when Destiny is good, there is nothing quite like it. No other shooter feels like Destiny. No other MMO light has raids like Destiny. No other live service game has the exact combination of gunplay, music, art direction, lore, loot, and community obsession. At its best, Destiny is magic. And yeah, sometimes it is incredibly frustrating, sometimes it is incredibly grindy, and sometimes it makes you scratch your head and wonder why Bungie did this. But it is still magic, and that is so incredibly rare. So Sony, if you are looking at the recent player spike and thinking, that was a nice send-off, I think you are reading the situation completely wrong. That was not just a send-off. That was a message. That was the Destiny community saying, we are still here. Those were players proving that the franchise still has power. That was a market telling you that there is still value in the thing that you already paid billions of dollars for. So don't shut it down. Don't let Destiny fade into maintenance mode. Do not gut Bungie. Do not bet everything on Marathon becoming something it was probably never designed to be. Continue Destiny 2 in a sustainable way, or greenlight Destiny 3. But do something, because if Sony lets Destiny die after spending $3.6 billion on Bungie, that is not just sad, that is not just frustrating, that is one of the most avoidable mistakes in modern gaming. Destiny is not dead, but Sony might be the one that kills it.